What up, YouTube? Here with a post-fight video of the Naoya Inoue versus Nery fight. Now, this was for the Undisputed Super Bantamweight title. And before I give you out a summary of what happened in the fight, I'm going to tell you out the results first. Naoya Inoue was able to successfully retain his Undisputed Super Bantamweight title via 6th-round knockout. And this was not the toughest fight of Naoya Inoue's career, but a learning experience as well as a tough moment that happened for Naoya Inoue in the first round. And after that first round, it was all Naoya Inoue. And I only say it was a tough moment for him because in the first round in this fight, for the first time ever, Inoue tasted canvas and he was knocked down from a swift right hook from Nery, and it was a flash knockdown. It was somewhat devastating because Inoue looked it to be shaken up by that knockdown, and I can say it was due to the surprise factor that he couldn't believe that he got dropped for the first time in his pro career, and as well as it being a sharp punch from Nery that Inoue didn't see coming because Inoue was a little too confident in there while on the attack that he didn't see that check hook coming from Nery. Inoue was in the midst of a attack on the inside, and before he could get out of range, Nery snuck in a right hook that Inoue didn't see coming, that landed right on the button, and that dropped Naoya Inoue to the canvas knee first. And Naoya Inoue, because he didn't see that coming and because it landed right on the button, Inoue was shaken up by it, and he didn't recover that well until the end of the round. But in the second round, he would come right back and drop Nery with a check lead hook of his own. And then that's when things turned around and the momentum of the fight favored Naoya Inoue. And Inoue, all the way to the 6th round where he scored a knockout, it was all him. He scored, I believe, another knockdown in the 5th round, if I got the round correct. And that was due to a straight right hand. And Nery, the power difference between Inoue and Nery was showing after the 2nd round. As I said, the knockdown that happened in the 1st round was because Inoue didn't see that punch coming and he was a little too comfortable in warming up, and he couldn't afford that mistake versus a well-experienced veteran like a Nery. And after that knockdown, he learned. He was able to calm himself down and gain back his composure and stick to his game plan, and that worked for him. And his style is a come-forward fighter that works off of his opponent's attack. Naoya Inoue is a natural counterpuncher, and he is accurate at placing his punches, and his punch selection is top tier. And Naoya Inoue proved that in this fight like he did in all his prior fights as well. And Naoya Inoue, when his opponent hits him and tries to get through his guard, he takes a hit to give back, and what happens is that Inoue's power tends to have his opponent back off of him, and that power of Inoue is overwhelming for his opponents to handle, hence why Naoya Inoue likes to receive a shot from his opponents to give back shots, and when Naoya Inoue throws back and lands accurately as he usually does, his opponents back away after feeling the devastating power of Naoya Inoue. And that was the exact case of this fight that we saw with Inoue and Nery, and the knockout blow, that right hand again, that blew Nery's head off and had his head in between the ropes resting. That was yet another highlight reel, devastating knockout added to the illustrious flourishing, successful, undefeated career of Naoya Inoue, and he overcame that first round knockdown for the first time in his career, and he maintained and retained his undisputed super bantamweight title. And Naoya Inoue is continuing to go on the uppity slope and remaining as one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world in all of boxing. And as I said, other than the first round, it was all Naoya Inoue. Still to this day, his first fight versus Nonito Donaire was without a doubt the toughest fight of his career. He suffered a broken nose and a broken orbital bone in his first fight versus Nonito Donaire, where they went the full 12 rounds and went all the way to the distance. And then we know what happened in the second fight. Granted, not making excuses for Nonito Donaire, nor am I taking credit away from Naoya Inoue's victory in the second fight. Naoya Inoue was able to blow Nonito Donaire out of the water in their rematch, unlike their first fight in that Bantamweight World Boxing Super Series Tournament Finals. And Luis Nery, as I said, once he felt the power of Naoya Inoue and Inoue got comfortable and fought the fight that he always fights, it was a takeover from Naoya Inoue. And Luis Nery, he gave Naoya Inoue a learning experience to be on guard and not get too comfortable during his attacks. And as I said, Naoya Inoue is a natural counterpuncher. He likes to telegraph his opponent's punches and counter with a blow of his own. And once he has his opponents back off of him after gaining that respect by letting his opponents feel his power, that's when he can accurately place his punches and do his level change and come forward. And his opponents got to throw punches because that's a part of boxing. And when his opponents are gun-shy and throw meaningless punches, that's when Naoya Inoue attacks that weakness of his opponent. And when his opponents throw meaningless punches, that's when Naoya Inoue finds more opportunity to counterattack his opponent's meaningless attacks with aggression. And we saw the same thing in this fight with Luis Nery. And if you look at the current rankings in the super bantamweight division, which Naoya Inoue holds all the titles in the super bantamweight division, Sam Goodman is the number one ranked contender according to the WBO and IBF. He's a undefeated Australian prospect. He's got a fight coming up versus a Thai fighter in July in Australia. And if he's successful in that fight, Naoya Inoue can possibly face Sam Goodman next, and that can be an easy fight to make happen because Naoya Inoue being a Japanese-based fighter and Sam Goodman being an Australian-based fighter, and both Japan and Australia being based in the Pacific, in the Eastern Hemisphere, that can be a easy fight to make happen. And if Inoue, he mostly has majority of his fights in Japan. He's fought in the United States of America in the past, but all his major bouts are hosted in Japan. He is a big draw out there. He is a well-reckoned name in all of boxing globally, but he doesn't do the same numbers in America as he does in Japan. For example, this fight with Luis Nery had a crowd attendance of 55,000. He doesn't pull those numbers in America. And if he fights in Australia, where there is a lot of Japanese population there as well, I'm quite sure because Australia is closer to Japan than America is to Japan, he can do similar numbers out there. But because Naoya Inoue is the A side and not Sam Goodman, that fight most likely will be in Japan as well. And then there is MJ Alimukanali. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this man's name correctly. He is a Uzbekistani fighter based out of Uzbekistan. His only defeat was versus Marlon Tapales, who Naoya Inoue defeated to become undisputed at Super Bantamweight, and that was a split decision loss that MJ faced versus Tapales. He is the number one ranked contender according to the WBC and WBA. We can see that fight happen next as well. MJ is more known than Sam Goodman is, globally speaking, and Alim Kanali, we've seen him fight on the zone before, and he's fought Tapales, who was a former unified super bantamweight champion, so he's fought at a bigger and higher stage than Sam Goodman, hence why this fight would be more of a marketable fight for Naoya Inoue to take next, rather than a fight versus Sam Goodman. But I can see Naoya Inoue fighting either one of these number one ranked contenders according to the titles that he holds in the super bantamweight division. And Akhmadaliv is how I properly pronounce this man's name. And as I said, Akhmadaliv or Sam Goodman is most likely going to be next for Naoya Inoue to defend his undisputed super bantamweight titles against next. And I like seeing this growth and this progression of Naoya Inoue. He is still young, he is still up and coming, regardless of the reputation that he holds, and him being an undisputed champion in two different weight classes. And Naoya Inoue, he's got that fan-friendly highlight reel style that not only the boxing fans can appreciate, but what the public looks for in a well-reputable fighter. And that does it for this post-fight video, y'all. Subscribe to this channel for more content. If y'all like this video, hit the like button, the share button, click the links in the description to show y'all support for this channel. Any and all things will be appreciated. And I'm out of here, y'all. Be good and peace.